Welcome back. It's another great morning, and you're sipping coffee with Spider. As you expected, because what else would you be doing this early in the morning? So, welcome. Just a quick note, I want to make sure everybody remembers that this Uncanny Earth, recently we did our 250th episode. Had a lot of good talks, a lot of good discussion, and you can catch that on This Uncanny Earth, the YouTube channel. So please watch that. Watch Rob and I go through the history of the show, of the network, and everything that we've done, and move on to the future. But for now, it's the news. I got a sneeze coming on. I still got some of these allergy things going on, but it's not as bad as the last few days. The last few days, I was all like really kind of drippy in my nose and things. But today I'm doing better, but I still got a sneeze coming on. Let's see if I can get it out here. Whew. I don't know. It's fighting me. It's fighting me. Anyway, Associated Press says Attorney General Garland says in interview he'd resign if Biden asked him to take action on Trump. And this is more defending what they've been doing to try to prosecute Trump for various things. And this is his attempt to still look like he's impartial and to look like, hey, if I was asked to do something directly by a political opponent, I wouldn't do it. But how do we know? How do we know any of these people actually tell the truth? We don't. All we have is their word, and for several years, their word has honestly not been good enough. I don't trust any of these politicians currently. Not a single one. They have all basically lied to us many times. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see how it goes. Another one from Associated Press. Gates says he will seek to oust McCarthy as Speaker this week. Quote, bring it on, unquote, McCarthy says. This is setting up another battle in the Republican Party over the speakership because of the way that the government was funded. Every single aspect of this is dumb as hell. You heard it from me. It is stupid. It's dumb. Let it go. Fund the government. Don't even bother trying to play games. Just fund it. Because there's no reason not to. Like, why would it not be funded? Why would it not be funded? All of this is just games. It's just game playing, and it pisses me off. Pisses me off. Ah, goodness. WWG. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake gets concerning update from PlayStation. Concerning. That doesn't sound good. Now, the funny thing about this is it was looking like it was going to be a PlayStation exclusive. So let's see what they have to say. PlayStation has shared a concerning update in regard to Aspyr's forthcoming remake of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. Just a few days back, a number of fans noticed that PlayStation had quietly removed the initial teaser trailer from its YouTube and social media channels. In response to this move, Sony said that it merely removed the trailers as a result of licenses that had expired in relation to music. And even though this excuse might make sense, it seems that PlayStation is still being pretty dodgy about its forthcoming KOTOR remake. Shared on social media by reporter Stephen Totilo, those at PlayStation didn't respond when asked outright if Star Wars Knights of the Republic was still in the works. This lack of reply, please don't talk to me, phone. This lack of a reply from the PlayStation is a bit odd, especially given that those at Sony were quick to debunk cancellation theories in light of the game's removed trailers. Although this non-response from PlayStation might not mean anything in the grand scheme, it's still... And there's an ad literally right here blocking the rest of the paragraph. It's still what? What comicbook.com from WWG. Anyway, I guess it's a troubled project, and that's unfortunate because both of those games were great. They were fantastic. It's too bad that the remakes weren't coming to Xbox, but it looks like they might not be coming to PlayStation either. No, I don't know. We'll have to see how things go from here. VinePair with some news that's interesting to me, of course. Hard Truth Distillery is Indiana's drinking Disneyland. Ooh, shivers up my spine. I want to go to some distilleries. I want to do some distillery tours and things and see what it's like. See if I can get some samples because you guys know I'm a big whiskey drinker. I'm a big whiskey drinker. I like Scotch. I like bourbon. I like all that stuff. And I would love to go on like this distillery world tour. That would be my dream vacation. So maybe Indiana will be added to my list. Hard Truth Distillery sound. What's next? Reuters says North Korea blames United States for quote unquote grave terrorist act, quote unquote, against Cuban embassy. That's really interesting. They said a recent attack against the Cuban embassy in Washington was the result of despicable anti-Cuban U.S. intentions. Now, that's an interesting thing. North Korea wading into that. They're taking advantage of this thing, of our problems with Cuba, and jumping on it. And I don't really know if that's going to help them any, because nobody really cares too much for North Korea as far as the global stage. So I'm kind of wondering. I guess it's just an attempt to make any swipe that they can against the United States to make the United States look bad. It's not hard to do. I mean, we here in the United States, we don't really need any help looking bad as far as our government is concerned. Earth.com says China aims to use lunar caves to build an underground moon base. Well, of course, that makes sense. Despite the fact that we have issues with China at the moment, that sounds like something that that would be a smart move. I mean, why wouldn't you try to avoid like the various space radiation things? Because the moon has no real atmosphere to speak of, so all the various solar flare and all that other kind of stuff, EM radiation, electromagnetic, all that stuff, you're exposed to it. So underground might be the safest way. Makes sense to me. I don't know. I bet the United States is working on something themselves. I bet the United States has a similar plan. I would think. I would not be surprised, to be honest. And some interesting news for me, and something that I kind of already knew based on my knowledge of biology. Earth.com, prehistoric trapdoor spider was 5 times bigger than its modern relatives. And the trapdoor spiders, the family of spider that the trapdoor spider is part of, are already kind of on the large side. 5 times bigger is a dang big spider. Not quite as big as me, but a dang big spider. But you know, I've talked about this on this Uncanny Earth many times before. Insects, their growth is only really limited in part by the amount of oxygen in the air. The more oxygen, pure oxygen, not just like, not the air that we have mixed with nitrogen and hydrogen, all that, but the amount of pure oxygen in the air, the higher that content is, the bigger an insect can get, which is why in places like the Amazon and various rainforests, you have really massive insects. In Australia has apparently some really high oxygen content compared to the rest of the planet. So you get big spiders, big huntsmen. And in prehistoric days, the oxygen count was ridiculously high compared to the nitrogen and everything else that was in the air that we have now. And so the insects and the spiders were fantastically huge. So, not bad. If you want to read up about that story, and if you're afraid of spiders, then you're going to be freaked out. Freaked out. WWG, latest Final Fantasy VII. My cat over here just sneezed. Final Fantasy VII remake rumors are bad news for Switch Xbox owners. Of course. Of course. Rumors claim Final Fantasy VII Remake is not currently in the plans for Nintendo Switch 2 or Xbox Series X and S. Of course, it's a PlayStation exclusive. Coming to PC. I'm totally on the fence about this thing because I would love to play the remake, but it's not the complete story. It is a complete game, as people have pointed out when I've tried to say it's not the whole game. The whole game was 7 discs for PlayStation 1. But it's not. It is a whole game. You get hours of content. But it's not the whole story. And I wouldn't want it on my Xbox unless I could buy the entire story. And so far, you don't have the whole story. You have the initial opening part, and then you have a little bit after that. You don't have the entire story. So I guess it doesn't matter to me. I'll go back and play the original because they put that on Xbox, so I can play the original. But whatever. Phys.org, PHYS, Indian spacecraft heads towards center of solar system. I didn't know that they were doing that. India's sun monitoring spacecraft has crossed a landmark point on its journey to escape the sphere of Earth's influence, its space agency said, days after the disappointment of its moon rover failing to awaken. So that's interesting. It's going the Aditya L1 mission is on a 4-month journey towards the center of the solar system, and it carries instruments to observe the sun's outermost layers. I'm interested to see how far that's going to go and how much interference the sun, our star, is going to cause with this thing, whether it's going to cause a lot of radiation or just like heat or whatever. I'm interested to see what the effects are going to be. More so than I am for what data it's actually going to get on the sun. Because knowing the effects of the sun are going to be more important in how we traverse these kinds of stars in the future once we send people out there, because it'll happen eventually. KIRO7 News in Washington. South Sound Church seeks removal of homeless encampment before Tacoma Greek Festival. They've been having a lot of trouble out in the Seattle-Tacoma area with homeless folks, just putting up tents and just camping basically wherever they want. They'll go to just a neighborhood where there's not a lot of traffic, and they'll just pitch a tent or put up a camper, and they'll just start living there on the side of the road. And it's crazy. And the laws there are supposed to be like, I don't know, the laws are real contradictory. And that's how you get stuff like this. You get private organizations and even churches that don't want them there and want them removed. And I don't know. There's no real good solution unless they just try to... I don't know if they've actually tried to build better shelters or what they've tried to do. But there are some big problems in Tacoma and the greater Seattle area of Washington. Reuters, the International Longshore and Warehouse U.S. Dock Workers Union files for bankruptcy. And I don't think this should come as a surprise to anybody. The unions are not the power that they used to be. We used to have unions as a check against the big corporations, and it used to be mildly successful. And then the unions almost turned into a form of organized crime. Some unions were basically forcing people to join and forcing people to do different things with their dues, and if you didn't, then they would basically bust your kneecaps, just like mafia folks would. And now they're just, with so many laws in place to protect workers, the unions, they're just not necessary anymore, I don't think. And they're causing more harm than good. That's my opinion. I know people are going to be mad because they're going to say I'm anti-union. And you know what? Look at the landscape these days. Do you really need them anymore? Do you? Any individual can sue a company now for mistreatment and get a huge settlement. Whether it benefits all of their former coworkers or not is irrelevant. The role of the union is no longer relevant anymore. Trust me, I'm right. Look into it. Look into it. Don't just take that as a talking point and assume I'm trying to just be like, ooh, capitalism, yay, blah, blah, blah. Just look into it. You'll see what I mean. You'll see what I mean. CNBC, federal student loan payments are due for the first time since 2020. What you need to know. And I don't need to know anything about this because I don't have those. But if you do, and if you were hoping to have them forgiven or to be deferred or whatever, the time has finally come. The time has finally come. They're going to have to pay them back. I know, it's rough. It's rough. No successful plan has come out of that whole thing in the several years that the Biden administration has been trying to talk about it. And regardless of where the blame is, you got to pay them back. So, hope you get out of that unscathed. Associated Press, the Supreme Court's new term starts Monday. So there's new cases, new things going on. You may want to pay attention. Associated Press says, here's what you need to know. But again, always takes a statement like that with a grain of salt, because what they think you need to know is not always what you actually need to know, like any other news outlet. Okay? So go ahead and read that with a grain of salt and just pay attention. Watch the cases coming up and decide from there. Reuters, oil prices climb as risk appetite grows. Focus returns to supply outlook. Yeah, people want more oil. The green things have not been working out the way people wanted. The green ideas, the green new deals, all these various carbon emissions things. So people are hitting the oil. They're hitting the oil hard. And there's been some deals on the side with the federal government and various lands, and people are mad because they said that apparently Biden was not supposed to do any more drilling and more of this, but things are going back to the same old status quo. Drill, drill, drill. I'm not weighing in on whether that's a good or a bad thing. I'm just saying it's one of those things that you shouldn't have promised when you were running up to your election cycle. Don't make promises that you cannot keep. But that's politics for you, obviously. Oh my goodness. Now this is interesting. From Insider, a quote pink wave unquote of flamingos are arriving in states across the U.S. where they don't belong, reaching as far north as Wisconsin. Why? Dismiss that. I don't want to read it in the app. Hurricane Idalia in August flung flamingos to more than a dozen states where they don't belong. They've been seen as far north as Texas and as far west, or seen as far north as Wisconsin and as far west as Texas and Kansas. Wow. I wonder if they're surviving this way. We might get flamingos breeding and becoming part of the landscape for the rest of the United States. Wow. I mean, that's interesting. I hope they make it. I don't want them to have their population just decimated by something like this. I'd like to see what happens. Very interesting. Oh, TMZ. It's not often I get a story from them. TMZ. And you know what this is about? It's about Britney Spears. Like, really, leave her alone. I'm not that guy. Like, oh, leave Britney alone. I don't even know how the video goes. I just know they said that. Um, but they're so desperate to cash in on this lady, and I think she's desperate for fame still, and I think she's not quite right in her brains. Unfortunately, not. I'm not making fun of her. I'm saying there's something wrong up there, and nobody's giving her the help that she needs or the support, and so she's doing these crazy things. And she's it says Britney Spears launches on cops who did welfare check after dancing with knives. Apparently, she was dancing around with knives, and police did a welfare check, and so she's mad. It's such a dramatic drama thing that. Come on, TMZ. Let's move on from Britney Spears. And Britney Spears, Britney, come on, retire, retire. You're supposed to be a mom. You're supposed to be with your kids. The dream is over. Calm down. Never tell a woman to calm down. Whatever. Calm down. I don't care if it's a woman or a man. If she was Brett Spears and she was doing this and he was doing these kind of things, I'd say calm down. Calm down, Brett, Brittany, Brett, Brittany, Brett, whatever. Calm down. Oh my gosh. Rolling Stone, if you're a Perry Farrell fan, Porno for Pyro's postponed reunion tour to work on new music. So you get a little bit of bad news. Oh, we're not going to do a reunion tour. Oh, but they are going to have new music. So maybe when they do that tour, they'll have new songs. Oh my gosh. If you're a Porno for Pyros fan or a Jane's Addiction fan, there you go. New stuff from Perry Farrell and the friends. Science alert. AI identifies brain signals associated with recovering from depression. Now that's interesting. As you guys know, I haven't been tuper. What a weird word. Why would I come up with something like that? I haven't been too impressed with AI so far. But this is interesting news. People get depressed. People have depression and all kinds of things. It's a widespread thing in the world, especially in the developed world. And if you can help identify that kind of stuff and help people recover, by all means. By all means. 99.5 Kiss Rocks San Antonio from Texas. This is what the news article is called. Green Day, having recently awoken in September, at the end of September, teases October 24th date with the American Dream is Killing Me website. So, maybe it's a new song, maybe it's a new tour, maybe it's a one-off show, maybe they're going back to sleep. Maybe they woke up at the end of September and they're going back to bed. I don't know. Tune in wherever you get your music news to find out what Green Day is up to on October 24th. Okay? From of all places, women's health. Earth's hidden eighth continent is no longer lost. That's cool. Women's Health magazine. Why would they have a whatever? I don't know. Apparently, they're into geography and that kind of thing, paleontology. It says we've finally mapped all of Zealandia. Zealandia, considered a candidate for the Earth's eighth continent, was mostly lost to the sea. Geologists say they've now mapped the entire nearly 2 million square miles of the underwater landmass, and the research team used rock samples from the seabed to analyze and date the undersea geology of North Zealandia, the final piece of the Zealandia puzzle. So if you're into that, which I think is cool, I think it's a cool article, it's a cool thing, then you can check out womenshealthmag.com of all places. Slow news day in the world of women, in the world of women's health, I guess. But you can read about the Earth's hidden eighth continent, Zealandia, which is a cool subject. I don't want to knock it. And that's all I got. I know it's a few minutes early, but that's the news. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in and for listening to the news with me. And I think I'm feeling like steak and eggs today. But I know that's expensive. You probably might not have steak and eggs readily available. But if you do, invite me over. I'm coming over anyway. I'm gonna knock on your door and say, "Hey, it's your good buddy Spider here for breakfast, steak and eggs." But if you don't have any, I'm not gonna tell you to go buy some because I know they're expensive. Eggs are expensive. Eggs are more expensive than steak, probably, in some places. So I don't know. Maybe we'll make do with a hamburger patty and I don't know. What's an egg substitute that's cheap? I don't know. I don't know. Powdered eggs? I don't know. Whatever. Make me some breakfast. I'm going to be over. We're going to hang out. You and me, we're hanging out. I'm having breakfast. Steak and eggs, or the closest we can get to it. Okay? Okay. I'll see you then. 10 minutes. I'm on my way.